Can you first tell us what made you investigate the explosion in the first place?
Well, I'll tell you what a friend of mine said, a very wise man in the oil business here in Europe. When he first saw the story I wrote, the one for Substack, he said, my good friend Seymour, he said, "You've become a master at deconstructing the obvious. My nation, my country, has had, going back to the Kennedy years, in the Cold War, absolute distaste and fear of Russian gas and Russian oil, because there was so much of it, and so much of it was being sold by the Russians, to Germany and to Western Europe. They were always afraid of Russia using the natural gas as a weapon, as a political weapon. That as long as Germany relied on natural gas, that was a problem. There's a long history of it. So that's one element, and to know that. And the other thing, of course, is the president himself had said publicly in February, he had a news conference with Chancellor Scholz, and he said, "Well, I want you to know one thing: if they start this war, Nord Stream 2, the new pipeline," he said, it will not go on. And I think the White House they convened a meeting of intelligence people and military people, et cetera. Did they want something irreversible or reversible? Something reversible would be sanctions. Irreversible would be something kinetic, something that could go bang. And eventually it turned out what they were looking for was perhaps a way of blowing up the two pipelines. I've done 3 more stories on all of which go to that issue. And I will tell you, the number of people who knew very much about it, I can tell you, was very small. The only way to run an operation like this is to keep a number to know everything into like this. Some people can know this, some people can know that, but the people that know this has to be very few. Otherwise, you're in trouble. So for the spokesperson to say something, I wish the president would do it, but he doesn't. Jake Sullivan doesn't do it. The Secretary of State doesn't do it. Victoria Nuland, they're not talking. Is there any sign that America wants an investigation in that? I've done that story for 3-4 weeks. Is there any sign? My story is going to be a month old next week. You have to understand, the American government's never going to say they did it. Never. How can they? And what President Biden was saying, that when things get very tough in Ukraine, it looks like it's not going well, and I want more money and German tanks and airplanes, he's afraid that Chancellor Scholz will say no, because he has that pipeline. He can open up the pipeline and get Russian gas and keep everybody warm. And so what he did was he denied them that right. I don't know if it's an act of war, but it's certainly an act of political folly in the long run, not in the short run.
我觉得这个东西目前让我们看的就是这个越多人合伙做一件事当他遇到了一些挫折的时候，他们分裂的速度越快。那北约30个国家加上乌克兰，现在就呈现的是这个样子。那反过来看，你看，反而俄罗斯这一方面反而慢慢在凝聚中国啦、伊朗啦，咱们再起来，这是一个大的局势。再往下推，其实还是合伙的生意是难做的，到最后大家意见太多了。那像好比说日本的外务大臣，他就想，我都可以预期得到，我不去，我去那里会有没有什么结果？所以他觉得
去不去都没差。
所以我既然去一个浪费我的时间，然后还看看这个人脸色、那个人的脸色，那我干脆就不要去了。我觉得他可能就有这种心理。如果这一次我可以非常肯定的我会有一些什么成就的，我当然一定会去。那接着我其实现在俄乌战争满1年了，我真的要想讲一个就是乌克兰现在非常的可怜，他们有难民，大概各种的资料从400万到800万流亡在国外，大概65%是女人跟小孩，请注意女人跟小孩不是一家在外面爸爸妈妈带着小孩，都是妻离子散。然后国内依据联合国统计有1000万人急需人道救援。从这2个资料你要知道，乌克兰大概是4000万人，他已经超过40%的人的生活，百姓的生活受到严重的破坏。 稍微有一点悲天悯人的心啊。如果乌克兰的高层啊，我觉得他现在应该要决定，就是说我一定要想办法停下这个战争，去谈判。美国当然不愿意停，这是他最大的利点。那我可以想象，但是乌克兰的领导决策者，你们为什么没有一点悲天悯人的想到你们人民的这照顾你们人民心情？我想大概3个原因。第一个就是他有什么把柄被人家捏到了，美国这一方面其实 CIA 是蛮厉害的，这是一个。第二个就是他有什么利益可图，你知道很多钱捐进来，打仗的时候也不会去好好的去拿，所以最近抓了几个摊的比较大的，在这里面反正不是我死人，我可以上下其手。
现在也在抓嘛，那些军援到乌克兰的武器，有些可能不是在战场上，可能被卖掉了，
很容易就是说高层的人会有利，他也不会上战场，底下的人民受苦受难，所以他其实良心一黑，他就这样摸了。还有第3个就是仇恨，打到现在死了这么多人，原来我根本是一个很和平的人，我根本不希望打。结果前几天我可能听到我很好的朋友死了，或是一个我很心爱的人死了。我可以告诉你，从今天开始我不问任何原因，我就是要把对方给杀了。那种就是一种复仇的心理。战争走到这一步，基本上已经没有目的了，就是一个你杀我，我杀你，看最后谁先把谁杀完。所以我觉得他们真的是非常的悲哀的。
海皇鲍鱼干贝 XO 酱里面有严选新鲜的顶级海鲜跟秘制的独家配方，还有富含胶原蛋白，还有粘多糖、低脂肪的高蛋白，肉质鲜嫩 ，EPA 跟 DHA 的含量更是丰富。现在购买还有优惠哦，输入我的优惠代码 CTI74享有折扣哦。